Mr. Podak.
Yes.
And myself, all committee members are present. Approval of the previous minutes
I move to approve. Second.
on roll call. Mr. Cassidy,
Aye.
Mr. Podak,
Yes.
and myself. Minutes have been approved. Any open issues? Mr. Danduran. Okay. Mr. Mayor? And Mr. Keckler?
No open issues.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Danduran.
A couple things. We have been meeting with our department heads the last couple weeks, Eric and I, and going over open purchase orders, things that we need to carry over into the next year, and things that need to be closed here at the end of the year. So we have a much better handle going into this year end in terms of truly where we're going to be at the end of the year. The department heads have done a great job of really cleaning up old purchase orders and doing a better job of understanding how to properly use purchase orders as opposed to past practices that we've had in place. I emailed to everyone the November reports. Not really much to report on them. We have $21.6 million in the bank at the end of the month. Almost 12 million of that is in the general fund. Our enterprise funds are looking stable. We have a lot of commitments out on projects, though, that are going to use up some of those dollars. I also shared with you the revenues year to date, and when you looked at that report, you're looking for everything 92% or more. And the main areas of contention, and they have been all year, are enterprise funds. The water and sewer funds are lagging behind. We knew they would. We're hoping that clears itself up here beginning in January when we hopefully done a better job estimating where we're going to be with those revenues.
Do you have an estimate where we're going to end the year? So water revenue, like, is it 84 and sewer revenues at 76? Do you think we're going to make it to 85 and 90?
I think that's realistic. I think that is realistic. I can tell you, since Mr. Allison is here, we're at 97% on our income tax revenue collected through November, and we did receive our first payment for December, and we are actually going to be over our estimated revenues. We're going to be at about 101, 102%. So we've caught up.
Thanks. I will ask one more question.
Please.
So it's kind of off topic, perhaps, but not. Looking at the revolving loan fund, since we'll be taking action on that tonight, when those principal payments come in, will the interest that's charged go back to that fund as well?
Yes. Yes. The principal and interest go to that fund. One of those revolving loan funds, and I believe it's the other one, we actually share that interest revenue with FEDC. That is part of, it was a state-funded revolving loan fund. They helped us obtain that, and as part of that agreement, they received the interest on those funds. It's the other one. It's the other one.
Okay, because this one's all coming from the local, correct?
Correct.
That's it for me.
I just had one, be in the enterprise funds under the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's halfway down up the top there, Wood County. Can you explain what that one is?
So we have a couple subdivisions out in the Wood County area that are on a separate, how do I want to say that, Eric? It's not a separate system, but they were put in after the fact, and it's built a little differently. And
Oh, this is a sewer system that comes in from Fleckner.
yes, that is part of it. And then we have the other Wood County is, I'm trying to think what else is out there. There's one industrial one out that way.
Water goes out to Charter.
Charter Steel?
Charter Steel, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
And Charter Steel's using less water.
But that's largely because we were late passing those rate increases.
Yes, but our volumes are down as well.
Oh, well, that's actually a good thing.
I mean, we're at 78%. I just wasn't sure. Was guessing that's what it was,
Yep.
but I didn't want to guess. So
Yep.
thank you.
The other thing while you're on the water, the other income of 301,000 estimated, and we've only received 58,000. The remainder of that will be a transfer from our uh, local government funds from COVID that were unspent. So what's going to happen is we have a separate fund that is, we have to use those funds by the end of the year. We have the Independence Avenue project. What we'll actually do is transfer those dollars from the local government fund into the water fund, and when it comes into the water fund, it shows up as other income.
And then we'll pay those bills out of
Correct.
this?
Yes. Yep. We have a $350,000 PO out there on the Independence Avenue project. So we'll have to pay the 350,000. In essence, the city, we're invoicing the fund to reimburse the water.
So do you need a PO from this fund since it's showing unencumbered?
Uh, no, not from this fund. It'll end up coming through. It'll,
It's an internal transaction.
correct. It's all internal.
Okay.
Good. Other highlights.
Nothing else? Okay. Mayor Manel? Okay. Mr. Keckler? New?
Business, no.
Okay. Well, then we will open the floor to the public for comments related to the Finance Committee.
Good evening, Jill Philater, 402 West Culbertson Street. Just a quick question for clarity. I know that, Steve, you gave a great description for me to understand the amount of money for that splash pad that's in the general fund. I'm trying to find the line item part of what the plan is for this year to make it go to attrition where it's going to be built. Because when I'm reading and looking at it, if that money is not spent by the end of the year for this project, where does it go? Is it going to extend so it gets done again, or can it go into the general fund again and just be totally not put together?
So the park fund has the funds sitting there. We just have not encumbered those funds. So those funds will continue to carry over. They'll still be in the fund. And if you look into the um, appropriations that we're passing for 2025, you'll see that we're then appropriating splash pad dollars in next year's budget. So the revenues are here. Uh, we will spend those revenues next year, and that will show up as encumbrances next year. So you'll actually see it follow through into next year.
Right.
The park fund is a special revenue fund, meaning the dollars that go into the special revenue funds have specific purposes that we can only spend those dollars on. That's why we put them in separate
Okay.
funds like that. So that's how it flows through, and it is in the budget for next year, the splash pad, as well as the restrooms, as well as the inclusive playground. All of that is in the park fund for next year.
Park fund for next year. Okay. So we're still in the proposal site trying to get new bids. Is that an accurate statement? You wouldn't know that.
I don't know.
Are we still, I know you made a comment to me, Mayor Manel, that you were getting new bids up in August so that we could put this out. Do we have an update or no?
Yeah, redesign so we can get it out.
Still working in design stage.
Yeah, and one last quick question, and you might not know the answer to this. Being that we were so far off on this, the engineering company that did the additional proposal, and we paid probably money for that, did we ask for reimbursement for the gross off that they were
No, we're going back to them and asking them to make it right and
at no cost?
get the bid where it ought to be.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other public participation?
Deb Tyson, 800 Woodward Avenue, Lot 9. I just have two, and I'm thinking that both of these things that you're going to pass tonight at the city meeting is for finance, the revolving loan fund, and also the, where did I see it? I just seen it a minute ago. Community Reinvestment Area Tax Incentive Agreement. Are them over the financial? Okay, I'd like to know a little bit more about them.
You or me?
So the revolving loan fund is set up for local businesses to access lower than market rates. And the caveat there is most of those dollars we try to tie back to economic development. So we do have a request in for a $750,000 loan. There's a separate revolving loan fund board of which I believe the mayor and I are members of that, as well as some at-large members from the public. So that gets looked at independently from the city. It's not just the city looking at it. We have others individuals in the uh, area that also are part of that board to approve those loans. So that board approved a loan, made a recommendation back to the city council to go ahead and participate on that loan. That loan is still in its planning phases. It probably will not disperse out until sometime in the first quarter. And when that does, the entity will be made public at that point.
Okay, the Community Reinvestment Area Tax Incentive Agreement?
So again, we have a local business in town who's looking to do a major expansion. With that, they're bringing a number of new jobs to the community. As part of the incentive package, they're going to receive a tax credit back on some of that new income tax that they're generating on behalf of the city through increased payrolls. And again, as those things become more finalized, they become more public. At this point in time, we're still kind of in a confidential, quiet stage. We have to do these pieces of legislation and keep moving forward, but the company's not ready to make a public splash. So we want to be transparent, but we don't want to disrespect their request for confidentiality.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public participation? Anything else from the committee?
Good.
Okay. With that, I'll announce that our next meeting will be Tuesday, January 21st at 5:30 in council chambers. And I'd ask for a motion to dismiss.
Second?
Now on roll call, Mr. Cassidy? Yes. Mr. Podek?
Yes.
And myself, we are adjourned at 5:44.